Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am your Destiny Dad, and welcome back to another Tuesday Reset. I am home right now on lunch from work, and I'm probably going to try and do this pretty quickly. I don't have too much longer before I have to head back, so this one may just get clipped and ripped and music added to it, and that's about it. But we will see how we go. First off, it is Iron Banner this week. Mr. Saladin is back in the tower once again to deliver us some lovely Iron Banner loot. As always, for anyone who doesn't know, Warlord's Spear, Tenacious Mastery are incredibly strong in PvE this season and likely will continue to be. In my opinion, Claws of the Wolf is a sleeper in PvE as well as in PvP. Criminals is definitely creeping up in the meta in PvP, and Multimach is definitely in that top end solo high level content PvE meta. I think also Nature Reclaimed can have some pretty spicy roles, and I think it's pretty slept on currently. So even if you can't really stomach too much PvP, hop in, get in with a group of buddies, throw on some armor, and get some loot. As for our normal vendors, let's check out what Mr. Banshee has for us this week. Well, first off for me, he has enhancements, of course. Up first, we have Hollow Words with Sympathetic Arsenal and Slideways, 2 reload perks. Got Liquid Coils, Extended Barrel. Slideways is pretty decent in terms of PvP. The stats are pretty decent in terms of PvP. It's just Sympathetic Arsenal. I could see if there's synergy here, if activating Slideways activates Sympathetic, then in PvP you could definitely engage with an SMG, engage with a hand cannon, engage with a pulse rifle, get a kill with your fusion, slide out of the encounter, and then be prepped and ready, like no downtime on your primary weapon. I could see that being a potential play. I don't think that this is by any means a god roll, however, and I think you can easily skip it, but this is a unique roll, and I would be interested to see how it plays out. There's also an updated version of this perk, or weapon rather, that you can get this week, with an origin trait and new perks that are likely better. Next we have the Nezaric's Whisper, an Arc Glaive. We've had this one quite a few times. It's pretty decent. I believe it can get a better roll than this. I forget what it is. You'll have to bear with me here for a moment. I did not have time to pull Dim up before I started recording. Banshee, Nezaric's Whisper, rolls. So in left column, we can get things like Lead from Gold and Demolitionist. In the right column, we can get Vorpal, Frenzy, Adrenaline Junkie, and Unstoppable Force. So there are definitely some better rolls to be had than this one particularly, but I don't think it's the worst, and overall I think glaives are pretty slept on by the average player, although I don't think the average player is going to enjoy a glaive. But if you're a glaive enjoyer, this one I would personally probably go with either Impulse Amplifier or Demolitionist alongside of Vorpal for this one. Maybe Frenzy, but Frenzy is really hit or miss for me. It's a good perk, but I don't always find myself activating it. Next we have the Tarantula Precision Frame Linear Fusion Rifle. We got Moving Target and Snapshots, as well as Projection Fuse and Fluted Barrel or Extended Barrel. Again, I'm not a linear in PvP kind of guy, but this is just another one of those perfect god rolls for PvP. I don't know why Banshee keeps getting these, but this is like the 10th one we've had in a month. I'm not exaggerating. So if you are a linear in PvP kind of guy, I don't think that there's a better Adept linear or anything like that out right now. Maybe the seasonal one, the Void one that has like garbage PvE rolls. Maybe it has some like PvP perks that are sleepers that I don't know about, but this looks like a solid option if you want a linear in PvP. Up next we have the Marcato 45, very good machine gun, very slept on, one of the few strand ones that we have in the game to my knowledge. That being said, this thing can get some pretty juicy rolls like Slice and Onslaught, Demolitionist, and Hatchling. You get Attrition Orbs, Triple Tap, Golden Tricorn, Over Under, Surround. Like this thing has some juice, and these are just simply not the juice that you want. Maybe in PvP, it's got really solid range, it's got decent reload and stability. Steady Hands is pretty solid and slept on, and then Adagio reduces your rate of fire and deals more damage, so maybe I could see a play in PvP, but this is going to be one of those niche quirky things that either you like it or you don't. Definitely not a god roll, definitely okay to pass, but if you want to try something new and quirky, feel free to give this a shot. But do be on the hunt for Demo Hatchling or Slice Onslaught, Demo Onslaught, any combination of those perks. This thing is kind of juicer and nobody talks about it. So up next, once again, we have Huscow, one of my favorite little rocket launchers in the game. This time we do have Impact Casing, we have Velocity Masterwork, we have linear Compensator, and then we have Quick Draw. Auto loading is kind of mid. I don't think this thing can get too much better than this, however. I don't know, like Snapshot in the left column, Tracking left column, either of those would be good. Right column could be Cluster Bombs. This is just one of those things that back in the day it was pretty solid in terms of rocket launchers, because Cluster Bomb was just the best damage perk that you could have on a rocket launcher, and it has not been the case for a long time. So this is one of those rocket launchers that is just relegated to, if you find a high velocity roll that you like, you can use it in PvP, and that's about it. And there are many such cases. As much as I love the Huscow, it's one of my favorite guns in the game just because of how goofy it is. This is definitely a skip for 99% of you. And last but not least, we have Hollow Denial. Now here is a huge weapon. This roll specifically is not fantastic, I'm not gonna lie. It has decent stats in terms of its barrel and mag. Once again, the craftable weapons don't tend to show a masterwork until you buy them, so I don't know if it's random or what, I'm not entirely sure. But Surplus and Unrelenting is not any sort of crazy combination. It's okay, and definitely if you like those perks, you will like this roll of the gun, but I don't believe that this is anything to get all hyped over for. That being said, it is a craftable weapon, and it is one of the best void trace rifles in the game. Even though there aren't too many, this thing can get, I believe it can get Repulsor Brace, Killing Tally, Lead from Gold, Dragonfly, Wellspring, Unrelenting, Swashbuckler. This thing is really solid, especially in endgame content. So if you don't have a good void trace rifle this season, please be sure to pick this one up, grab a few copies, use some of your harmonizers, and make sure you get that thing crafted. Now, let's head on over to Miss Ada1 and see what she has for us this week. Alrighty, at Ada1 this week for our hunters, we have the Forsaken Armor pieces. It's not really a full set. I know that these things have a name. Maybe they were the hunt set, maybe they were Baron sets, I'm not entirely sure. But these came out with the Forsaken expansion, and you would kill the bosses and you had a random chance of getting some of these to drop. Back then they were pretty cool, now they are less cool, but it's still, you know, one of the earlier stabs at kind of unique loot that Destiny 2 had anyway. I don't know, they're very unique in their look and their style. It's definitely not for everyone, but I'm sure that there are some of you out there that will enjoy the aesthetics. That being said, for our hunter, we have a base 53 chest piece with a spike in Recov and Intellect. We've got 3 cloaks, and that will be the trend on all 3 of the classes. You'll have 3 class items and 2 armor pieces. And then we lastly have a 57 base stat helmet with a spike in Intellect. Now that Intellect is huge. That is a 25 point spike in Intellect. And you got a little spike in mobility at 13. I would say that maybe this could be a sleeper piece. We don't know exactly how crazy armor is going to change coming up in Edge of Fate, but at the moment, if you need a bump in intellect, at the very least, this will give you a very large one. For our shaders this week, we have Dark Amalon. This came in Season of the Arrivals, and this, in my opinion, is a very nice looking shader. Lots of that bluey green kind of patina look, decent amount of white. It depends on the armor set. Most of the time it's more darker gray and black, but this is mostly Trials gear, and it looks pretty good on this, honestly. I like that a lot. Up next we have the New Pacific Sync, another shader from Titan way back when it was a static destination. Mostly blue. This reminds me, for any of you D1 veterans, I want to say it was Blue Shift or Blue Sync, something like that. It was like the shader symbol is different, but it had like a ring in the middle that was silver and a tiny bit of red in the middle, and then the rest was blue. And this reminds me of that shader a lot. Lastly, we have War Cult Rain. As per usual, the future War Cult shaders are blue, black, and red. Blue, yellow, and red, excuse me. And it's not my jam personally, but I am sure that it is someone's. This low-key has some Gundam-y vibes to me, like that primary colors on white. If you had the mech armor sets from Festival of the Lost a few seasons back, I bet that this shader would go pretty hard. on that set. Alrighty, and this week, to attempt and save a little bit of time for myself, I'm going to go through dim, even though I don't typically do that. I like to take the extra time and edit these things into the video. I'm going to try and just do cuts and add music this time, in the sake of saving time. So for our Titan, we have the same Forsaken armor set. On the chest piece, we have a base of 53 with 12 resilience and recuv, as well as 19 intellect. Actually, a really solid chest piece, I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of people don't necessarily spec into recuv on Titans. For me personally, I like to get as close to 100 resilience and 100 recuv on both Titan and Warlock. And then for Hunter, I will tend to do 100 mobility and 100 resilience, because I think just resilience is good across the board, and I think recuv is good across the board. But I think Hunters are squirrely enough to rely more on resilience than recuv. And then intellect is just one of your best stats. It depends on the build that you're going with, of course. Sometimes you're doing a grenade build or a melee build, even a survivability build, and you don't necessarily want your super all the time. Maybe you're using a roaming super or an exotic that refunds super, whatever the case. This is a really solid chest piece if you don't have something better than this. These spikes are fantastic. They could be a little bit better because there's a 6 in strength. If that was cut down to 2 and maybe you put 2 extra here, you could do 14, 14, 19, and that would be huge. But regardless, still a worthwhile pick if you don't have something better. Good God. You have a 59 base helmet for Titans with a 29 mobility spike, if only that was on Hunter. And then you have 12 in discipline. So the chest piece is pretty banger. The helmet, not so much. Lastly, we do have our Warlock this week with the same armor set. Of course, our chest piece has a base stat of 52 with 13 recuv and 10 intellect, and pretty tame across the spikes. And for our helmet, we have a base 50. We do have a 16 strength stat spike, but we have 10 mobility. Looks like nothing too crazy in terms of the armor this week, outside of cosmetic, of course. And with that being said, I think that that about wraps us up. I will do one more thing. I might start doing this. I'll see how you guys feel about it. But I am someone, I like cosmetics. I think cosmetics are fun. I think drip is the true end game of Destiny. And I am someone who I don't like to spend money if I don't have to. So, first, every week until the end of this season or episode, you get 700 free Bright Dust in the store. Once per account, not per character. I know, I'm sad too. But this week we have Abyssian Gold for 300 with a pretty solid black shader with a little bit of yellow, and I think there's some red in there. We got Amethyst Bloom, which looks okay. I'm a fan of purple and pink shaders, but this one is not a favorite of mine personally. We got the Orrery Entrance Transmat effect. We have the Ornithopter shell. We have the Bonsai emote. That's actually really cute. I might snag that one before the week's over. And then for our Bright Dust section, we have the Chain Ripper Monte Carlo ornament. Definitely a great ornament that you should grab if you have the chance. We have the Pinballer Sparrow. The Diesel Maximal ship. We got a Golf Tango shell. Oh, that's really cute, actually. I like that. We have the Coiffure Correction. I believe I'm pronouncing that right, but I do not know. If you like hairspray, grab that emote. And then we have Dance Off. And for our shaders, we have Trinity, which is a very nice light green shader. A Radiant Sharite. I actually use this shader every now and then. I like it a lot. It has a little bit of animation to it. Cursed Azure. I would like this more if it didn't have like the tiger striping on it, but overall it's a nice shader. And then lastly, we have the Princely Presence, another nice light greeny bluey kind of a shader. Definitely worth your time if you enjoy that sort of thing. With all that being said, I want to say a huge thank you to anybody who came and watched. I apologize that this video is kind of on the rushed side, and I don't know what I'm going to do about a thumbnail, but we will see. As a matter of fact, I'm going to hit a screenshot right there. I might just use that as a thumbnail with some text. Well, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed and you want to see more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe before you go. And stay tuned for more updates and weapon rolls and reviews and hot takes and all of that fun stuff. I love you all, and I hope you all have a fantastic week, Guardians, and I will see you next time.